Yeah!
It's Josh Williams here, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 48 for Wednesday, April 11th, 2018. Welcome back, listeners. Welcome to my new listeners. This week I'm going to be talking about a couple of movies that I saw. I have been going to the gym. Look at me go. Just needed a little bit of free time in the schedule, right? I've been doing some food prep and eating better. We'll talk about all sorts of that fun stuff, and I won't be reading any emails this week. There's no emails this week, so we will maybe we'll have a little short one, just a little Josh Light this week. As early last week, it's funny. Again, these episodes always start a little goofy. I've watched some movies this week. I've been listening to an audiobook. Been doing the food. So I don't know. I had a fun week, guys. I really did have a fun week. Last week, one of the earliest things that I did, I was working on my taxes, of course, and I have been. But I managed to get some me time in, playing some video games. I played and finished a really fun game called Little Nightmares. It's available on Xbox and PlayStation, and I know it's available on Steam as well. So you can get it on any video gaming platform. But just to jump right into a cool little video game story right off the top, it's a cool game. It's a side scroller. What that means is you sort of move to the side. It doesn't sound overly, interesting. I'm not trying to make this overly whatever, but it's a game. If you've similar games like it, to give you an example, what a side scroller is, like games like Mario, Super Mario, and I guess Double Dragon and things like that. Any game where you're walking sideways, the screen is scrolling to the side. That's a side scroller. So just to give you an idea of how complex the game is, okay, it's not overly complex, but it's a side scroller with puzzles. So the idea is that you're this. It never really explains it, which is also really part of the charm. But you're this tiny little, I guess, orphan, kidnapped kid or whatever, and you're just trying to get the hell out of wherever you are. It's very dank. There's, rats and things like that. In every room, there's a puzzle to sort of get you out of that room. A little ways into the game, you start seeing these really grotesque, sloppy looking, adult cooks and chefs and things like that. And it's got a very Tim Burton-esque feel, very, very Tim Burton-esque, claymation, Nightmare Before Christmas, that kind of look and vibe to it. Everything's very filthy and dirty, and it's a great game. It's creepy. There's a lot of very nick of time moments. You're running for your life a few times, but of course, like I said, there's puzzles in each room. Grab a key or find an item or light a torch or something like that to get yourself somewhere. But of course, you have to do things in order to, you got to manipulate the environment in order to solve puzzles and move on. Anyways, super cool game. It plays in about, if you're, I don't want to say if you're smart, because anyone who doesn't is going to feel awful, but if you're into puzzle games, then it's a great game that sort of just gets the brain going. You can beat it, the whole thing start to finish, in probably 3-4 hours. So just to give you an idea, it's not a super long commitment, but I was getting really into it at the end of one night, and I just managed to plow through the true to game. Yeah. So definitely recommend the game Little Nightmares. It was recommended to me by a friend who worked at EB Games during the Christmas season. I picked it up and I just never had a chance to play it. In fact, a lot of the games that I'm playing now tend to be ones that I know are only an afternoon or evening romp kind of thing. Like I got games like Skyrim and Mass Effect and Resident Evil and stuff that I know are going to be longer games. So I don't even start them because I know I'm just never gonna have time to finish them. But Little Nightmares, big thumbs up. Enjoyed that. A few other just little soul side scrollers that I like along the same vein are the game Limbo and Inside. Both of those are made by a company called Playdead, but same thing, side scrolling puzzlers. In fact, speaking of Resident Evil, I don't know if anybody out there, again, I don't know how many of my listeners are actually, gamers or whatever, but even just to see how cool this game is, you can just YouTube Little Nightmares and you can watch basically somebody else play through it and go through the rooms. So again, just visually, it's very, very exciting and fun to watch. But I digress. I was mentioning Resident Evil. Resident Evil is one of those ones that's like a puzzle game. So every time, you got to grab something, bring it somewhere else. solve puzzles to open doors and things. Like I like those kind of games. Fun little story to them. Definitely a very artsy looking game, and at the same time, it makes my brain work a little bit. So, funny enough, while I'm playing video games, years ago was one of the the original places I used to come up with my ideas for jokes, because while I was playing games and solving puzzles, obviously my brain's thinking of other stuff as well, and then I'd dick around with an idea or a premise, and before I knew it, I actually had a joke that I'd turned over, whatever. So maybe getting back to the games here and there will help. Because again, this last week I've had a lot of ideas for jokes too, and I've paused the game and jot them all down and fuck around with them and turn them over in my head while I'm playing. So very cool. Anyways, I had a great time playing that game. It was nice to actually just do some me stuff. Wasn't focused on taxes, wasn't focused on working out or eating right or any of that other stuff. All of it important, but just not overwhelmed with it, which is kind of what makes you shy away from it afterwards too. But had a great time playing that. I did manage to work on my taxes, of course. Thursday was kind of a I went to the gym. Very excited to what I've been doing at the gym. Again, courtesy of my friend Josh Abel. He had mentioned to me back when we were working together at the Source, he said that if I'm looking to do something that's going to get the heart rate up and burn some calories, but not too intensive or whatever from the beginning, so he was just saying, just jump on a treadmill, go full incline, right? Turn it right up to 15 and then just get on there and start walking, because the incline is going to make you, start burning the fat and stuff like that. So anyways, that's what I did. I got on the treadmill, brought her up to speed, brought her up to full incline, and just pounded away, and definitely was working up a pretty massive sweat. I also had my heart going crazy. I think I was like at 168 beats per minute or whatever. So definitely got the heart rate up there to the point where the heart was flashing on the screen. I'm like, maybe I should back it down a little bit. I'm not a doctor or a paramedic, so I really don't know how bad 168 beats per minute is. I'm sure if I was sitting down and my heart was doing that, that would be horrible. But once you're working out and you're getting your heart rate up, like, who knows what's, I say like it's crazy. Yeah. Who knows what's good for you? I would imagine someone out there knows. Feel free to tell me. I would love to know. Contact at onemanpodcast.com. You guys know that every now and again, I'll ask for a question. I'll throw the email address out there too. But yeah, I'm that's what I'm doing. And I came back and I worked on taxes some more, banged them out. I will say that as of Sunday night, I was finished my 2016 taxes. Now I've finished all the reporting. That's the hard stuff. I just need to sit down now and plug them into the tax program. I'm waiting for Jason to give me a hand with that. He's very good with taxes. So that's the hard part. When I keep saying do my taxes, I think by now a lot of you guys have probably been like, fuck dude, how long does it take to do your taxes? You sit down, you plug some shit in. So just so you guys know, just so that it makes sense when I'm saying this, my taxes, when I say do my taxes, I have to get all my numbers together for that just to plug them in, because I've got so many different work endeavors. So the podcast is something, the open mic Mondays was something, stand-up comedy is something, all of these tastings that I'm doing is something, working at the hot dog place is something. Like, they're all different endeavors that are all reported differently. They're all paying, a lot of them just pay me straight up cash, so I have to separate them. I have a lot of expenses, and I have to segregate those expenses from the actual income that I've got. So there's like so much reporting, not to mention I track my kilometers when I'm doing, there's Uber. That's one I totally forgot. So Uber's in there. I track my kilometers, my gas, everything. So there's so much reporting to do. I have to go through my calendars too and find every comedy gig and make sure that I record all that income and whatnot. So it's a lot of work, and I print it all and put it in a binder so it's organized. Should I ever get audited, I can just hand them a binder and it's all nice and organized for them. So just so you know that I'm not struggling to get a few lines of information into a tax program. It's the reporting. When I say do my taxes, I'm preparing all my reporting and all my information, which is relatively, new to me. I've only learned how to do it in the last couple of years. I was very behind in my taxes. I think last year I hadn't filed. Maybe around this time last year, I think I was working on my 2014 taxes. So I had gotten my 2013 file. I was working on 14, 15, and now 16. And in those years, I had a lot of new stuff open up. So it was a matter of just tracking everything properly. I was trying to make sure I wasn't claiming more than I was supposed to, or not claiming enough. Trying to make sure that I claimed the right expenses, that everything was saying. Like, I'll give you an example just for fun, right? Because who doesn't love talking taxes? A lot of people are under the impression that you can write off your uniform or work clothes or things like that. And I have painstakingly gone through several tax, places and asked. And just in case anyone thinks that you can claim a uniform or you can claim work clothes, that is 100% absolutely false. You cannot claim uniforms and work clothes. You used to be able to years ago, but they changed that rule because there's some people who, don't have a job that requires a uniform, and it's not fair to them to have to buy clothes because they can't go to work naked. That's kind of like, it sounds stupid to put it so plainly, but that's kind of the rule, is like, nobody can go to work naked, so you have to buy clothes. But if your job doesn't require you have a uniform, then why is it fair for some person to, have to buy clothes for work? They're just regular clothes and not a uniform, and other people have to buy a uniform. They can write it off. So, simply put, no clothes. It doesn't even matter. Like, apparently I talked to some of these tax places just to make sure they were on the up and up, right? Because for me, I want to claim as much, deductions as possible. But yeah, they were saying that, like, even, police officers have to pay for their own, like, Kevlar and shit like that, and they don't get to write it off. So, the only way that you can write something off, same like with haircuts and stuff, they used to say, like, oh, you can claim your grooming or whatever if you get haircuts. And I kept saying, like, I'm a comedian, I have to be presentable on stage. So can I claim? And they're like, no, you can't claim suits. You can't claim anything. The only way that you can claim, like something that you're wearing for stage or whatever, is like if you rented a suit. So if you rent it, then it's a business expense, so it's like, it's a lot of, they're tightening the rules on shit like that. Because obviously I would assume there's people who are abusing the system. And of course, like I said before, there's people who it just wasn't fair for, you have to buy clothes to go to work, but they're not a uniform. So you have to pay it out of your own pocket. What would have been fair is to give everyone a budget, but they want your money. So what can I say? So anyways, that's what I mean. Every time I say I'm doing my taxes, it's just going through giant piles of receipts. I don't have a bookkeeper or anything like that. I do it all myself, and I should, but all that shit costs money. And as much as, I can't wait for someday, for myself to be doing well enough that I can have someone who takes care of all my booking for me and takes care of my bookkeeping for me and does my taxes and does all the emailing with clubs. I would love to have that. I would love to get so busy and successful that I have an assistant that does all the stuff that I'm too dumb to do myself. But until then, it's up to me to painstakingly ask a million questions of people who know more about taxes than I do and make sure that my reporting is done properly so I don't end up fucking myself over now or later. Because you might go, oh, look, I did a great job and I'm getting money back. And then in 2 years, you get audited and they go, yeah, you can't claim this, and this. You owe us $600 plus, 3 years of interest on not having paid that, and you owe us $1,000 out of nowhere or something. I don't know. I'm not good at math. But so that's why it's so lengthy and stressful for me, because I really, of all the things, like, I'm not shitty at math. I always tell people math is my weak subject, and it is, but it's not weak in the sense of like basic adding and subtracting and addition or whatever. It's just, I definitely get overwhelmed when it's just, well, you do this and then you're allowed to have this percentage. Like, the more steps in the formula, the more, even though I can do them, right? You just break it down, bed mass, nice and easy. Just the more math is involved, the more I will get anxious that I'm somehow going to fuck up a step. And then, of course, the thing with math is once your number is wrong, if you just keep doing the next steps with the wrong number, you're going to get the wrong results, right? So whatever. Moving on. On Friday, I had a great day. My buddy Chris came over. Chris, regular writer into the One Man Podcast, of course. Chris came over. We had, what did we do? We played some games. He introduced me to some new board games. We played a game called Dominion. Very fun. It's a game I've seen on shelves many, many times before. And again, if you lay out all the cards, it looks super overwhelming, but we played, he taught it to me. I learned it very, very quickly. A lot of fun. So again, just in terms of those random board game shoutouts, Dominion, very fun game. We played a game called Gravwell. I think is what it's called. Gravwell. It was a fun game. It's, again, you're just ships floating around in space trying to move forward. The board looks very, very easy. It looks like just like a spiral, a very simple snakes and laddery kind of just basically move forward, move backwards, and that's it. But the it's all based on gravity. So when someone moves ahead of you, they become a source of gravity, and that pulls your ship forwards or backwards, and you're always pulling yourself towards the closest source of gravity. So effectively, when you play a numbered move, and that you're either going forwards or backwards depending on how close the gravity is. But of course, everyone plays their cards at the same time. So somebody goes first, then somebody goes second. So, when you play your number, you may want to move forward. But if the other person goes first, they pull themselves towards you, and now they're floated past you, and you're pulling yourself backwards instead of forwards. I know it's hard to explain, but it's a very easy to learn game. But it's one where you could tell that the strategy, it's like one of those, the strategy could take forever. I won. I won my first game of it. I got very, very lucky. But I definitely like that. That is one that I would like to have on my shelf at some point. But Gravwell was a very fun game that Chris and I played. I think he had brought 2 others, but we didn't play them. Again, I don't even remember what they were called. You're probably yelling it at your radio right now, Chris. But I don't remember what it was. I think one of them was about trains, and then I can't remember. Oh, and he brought Smash Up for me to check out. So, but we didn't play those. What else did we do? We played a game called Overcooked. We've talked about it, I think, on the podcast before. Just a fun little PlayStation game, cooperative game. You play with multiple players, but you're basically just handling a kitchen. You're cooking stuff. It's basically just a cooperative game where you need 2 people on the same page, working sort of a conveyor system where one person, will take a vegetable, the other person will chop it, then drop it in a pot. And, and then the other person has to plate it or whatever, but all the levels change up to make it more difficult. But it's just one of those ones about figuring out the best, most efficient process for, prepping. It's you're running a kitchen, right? You got to wash the dishes. You got to prep the food. You got to cook the food. You got to make sure that it gets out in the right order. The right ingredients go in. A lot of fun. I've played with Kamar as well, and we both enjoyed it. So, it was a good time all around. I think we chatted about some other stuff, but it was cool. Just got to hang out with my buddy. Was a great day on Friday. On Friday evening, I went to do a show in Avonmore, Ontario. Avonmore, Ontario. And it was for a bunch of Farmers Association people. It was for a bunch of farmers is what it was for. And it was a good show. It was just Jeff and myself, and the show was supposed to be super squeaky clean, which is always just terrifying for me. Not that I can't do a clean show, but I'm always just worried I'm accidentally going to slip in a swear or whatever. I'm very liberal when I'm doing my podcast, and then I just sort of say whatever, but I don't even think I swear that much on the podcast, to be honest with you. There's a lot of people who go, well, the other day I was going to this fucking place, and the fucking place was like all the way down the fucking street. It's like they swear way too much. I would like to think that I don't really talk like that. It is a crutch though. Some people, if you hear someone who swears a lot like that, it's kind of like a verbal crutch where you don't really know what it is you're trying to say. At least that's how it's been described to me, in the past by other comedians and stuff like that. Comics who swear a lot on stage. It's just one of those, like, if you're uncomfortable, you tend to get very crass and cursy, just as a cane to lean on, I guess. But went to Avonmore. The show went great. I remember it was so funny. There was a few people there. So I was listening beforehand because they were giving away awards to people in the area. And a couple of things I heard in the rest, like they would talk, I think they only gave it like 3 or 4 awards, but they would read off like all the things that this particular person was doing for the community. And one of the things I remember hearing was this one guy was like, he's this, blah, blah, blah. He's blah, 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 blah. He's also the president of the square dancing club, which I definitely take mental note of because I thought that was hysterical. He's the president of the square dancing club. And then they went on to talk about another guy who was, they said that they were doing, like all automated, or at least a lot of the automated things at his farm. He's now got robots that feed the cattle for him. He doesn't have to do any of the work or dirty his hands with that, which I, again, took mental note of. And I noticed that there was a girl in the audience sitting there in like a very nice dress with a tiara and a sash on. I was also eager to find out what the fuck that was all about. So I went up first, and I just remember, sort of chatting with them a little bit and saying, I think it's really funny that I said, I can't believe I've heard 2 of the funniest things to me in a long time tonight. One of them was I heard somebody say the president of the square dancing club, and they were serious. I can't tell you guys, that would be a joke in the city. That would be a punchline. You know what I mean? Like I'm writing that down, and I'm saving that for a joke that I write in the future. You know what I mean? It's like, what is this guy, the fucking president of the Square Dancing Foundation or whatever, Fair Square Dancing Club? Like, that's hysterical to me that that's a real thing. And that's something he's being given accolades for. I get it. There's fucking curling clubs and shit like that. But I thought that'd be really funny. I would keep that in a joke as an example of someone who's super lame or dorky or something coming from me, right? That's rich. But I thought that was really funny. And then again, I asked the farmer who was being given awards for, automating the feeding process. Now robots, that's what they said. The robots feed the cattle farm now. And I go, that's great. What a great thing to innovate at your farm. Let me ask you this. Do you still have to inseminate the cows manually? And everybody started laughing. I go, that might have been the first one that I would work on. You know what I mean? Like, you're standing at the farm and you're like, thank God I don't have to fucking touch that dirty cow food anymore. I don't want to dirty my hands with that. Now pass me that plastic bag. I'm about to go elbow deep up in fucking Bessie here. You know, like, I think that's fucking, if there was one thing, I don't mind fisting the fucking cows. It's just I don't want to get that fucking cornmeal on my overalls. I don't know. I thought that was particularly funny. Of all the things to automate, it would be the, cow fisting, but no, that's maybe one of the little, euphoric retreats that they have. Just getting up in the morning and giving a cow a fistful of orgasm. That's fucking gross. I don't know if you've ever seen it too, because they have to like stick their fists up the cow's ass, I think, and then stimulate it anally, and then they stick in this weird tube. You know what? Google it. I'm not even going to try to understand it. It's gross. I've seen it before. They gotta like dig the cow feces out of the ass. Anyways, way grosser than pouring a bucket of feed or whatever into their bins. And then I saw the woman who was like I asked her what she was. I said, are you a princess or whatever? I go, are you like you? She looked, because I said she was dressed like a princess, right, with a sash, and I couldn't read what it said. There was so much wording on it. And then I was like, are you, I go, are you someone who's off their meds right now? Like, you look like the chick in her prom dress standing on the ledge, like ready to jump, and she said her, I think I wrote it down here somewhere. Come on, Josh. Did I prepare? Do I ever prepare? Oh, I know it's stuck underneath here somewhere. Where the fuck did I put it? It was right here, goddammit. Oh, here it is. There it is. I moved it. The Stormont County Queen of the Furrow. And of course, when she said that, I couldn't remember any of it. Stormont County Queen of the Furrow. I go, yeah, okay. I don't know what that is. I think I had to keep referring. I kept referring back to her over the course, and I just kept saying, like, I would give her a new title every time. I go, we got the fucking, it's a weird place to be, a bunch of farmers. We got the tractor pull princess here, or whatever she is. And I kept giving her, that's the only one I can remember off the top of my head right now. And I just kept saying, like, what are your duties? I said, do you cut the ribbon at a new cow castration or something? Like, what the fuck? But apparently she was telling me after the show that she's got, like, there's all sorts of things that they do, but it's basically showing up. They do, like, again, I'm not going to remember the name of it, but, like, she said where they use farm equipment to dig up, like, how much land can they dig up in a set period of time? Like, I guess it's square footage or whatever. Not so much deep, but just how much, like, sod can they tear up with these things. I also remember during the show asking, like, I was making fun of tractors and stuff, but them selling old fucking rusty tractors. And then I said, you know what? Do you guys even have to, like, do they count the mileage on those things? Like, if you're selling your car, you need to have, I don't know, I'm so fucking hiccupy. I only get the hiccups when I'm doing the podcast. Maybe it's just the nonstop motor mouthing. But I was saying, if you're going to sell your car, you need to, like, list how many kilometers are on it. I go, do they do that with fucking tractor equipment? And they all just stared at me. And I go, I'm not joking. I don't fucking know. And then they laughed at me. But it was interesting. And then one of them yells out, hours. They're listed on them how many hours they've been running or working. So that's interesting. How about that, guys? They go based on hours. That'd be funny for cars, because you could leave your car idling for a super long time. It's not going anywhere. And apparently to leave your car idling is bad for it. So maybe the farmers got it right. They don't give a fuck how far it's gone. That'd be funny too. I should have asked them if they have winter tires for their tractors. But I had a great time in Avonmore. On the way, and of course I was there with Jeff McKay, my good buddy. But Jeff did great. I did great. We couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. They fed us nicely. Thank you very much to the people of Avonmore. On our way there, Jeff had, I guess, a broken windshield wiper, and he had taped it up. And I guess as we were on the highway, and it's snowing, so we need it. As is waving back and forth, the fucking arm of it breaks, and now he's got this wacky, this wacky windshield wiper flopping back and forth, barely hanging on. We had to pull over and do a roadside, makeshift. If you've ever seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they break the antenna on the phone booth, and they have to do like a roadside stop. They've all got chewing gum, and they use the gum to fix the antenna and shit. A bunch of duct tape. Anyways, it was really funny. It was really funny. So that was the thing on the way there. It held up on the way back, and I hope sometime Jeff this week got it fixed. But it was funny. A really, really funny thing. The road stories, shit fucking breaking on the road, and we had a good time. I also spoke with, I spoke with Chris that day, and I spoke with Jeff too. And so here's the thing I want to tell you guys. I did my first time edit of the One Man Podcast. So here's what I mean by that. Last week, episode number 47. Okay. I told a story, and I'm not going to repeat it here, but I told a story. So if you're one of my people who downloads the episode when it first came out, you heard it. I told the story, and I was out there, but I spoke with Chris and I spoke with Jeff, just about it. And they were, I just said, should I have told that story? Like, would that, and to be honest with you, I'm fine with telling the story. If you ever want to hear the story, I'm happy to tell anybody in person. But it was one of those things where just based on, my career and things like that, I just had this feeling that it might not be such a great idea to have that story out there. It's one of those things where like, it's innocent enough, but if you're running for president or for office, it's the kind of thing that could resurface. So just for all intents and purposes, I went back late on Friday night, and I took the episode, I cut out that story, and then I published it again. So anyone who heard the original episode, like I said, I'm not ashamed to have told the story. I don't, feel bad about it, but it's just one of those things that I didn't want just hanging out there. So if, someone in 10 years from now decided that they wanted to, keep me from getting a green card to the States or something like that, that's something they could pull out and go, look, here's that thing. Look at what he tried to do. So again, nothing malicious or anything like that. I know I'm making it more ominous for someone who joins later. Gee, I wonder what that story was. Ask me in person. I'm happy to tell you. It's just more about not having it recorded and out on the internet. So yeah, my first time edit for the podcast. And again, I don't like the idea of editing because it was, like I said, a story I told. It was part of the email that Tiffany sent in. But yeah, I just after talking with Chris, after talking with Jeff, and just saying, I don't feel good about that being out there, and I'm concerned that someday it could come back to haunt me. Just until the whole world decides that everything with that particular thing is nice and safe and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, if you heard it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you didn't, well, I'm sorry. Ask me in person sometime, and I will be happy to tell you the story. So yeah, Saturday, oh boy, I went out to pick up a board game I found online. I am part of board game groups now on Facebook, people selling board games. I went to pick one up because the one that I bought online had shitty cut pieces, and the whole nature of this game was kind of like Tetris. You put pieces together. I went to go out and see these people's copy, and theirs was all fricked up too. But I felt bad, going all the way out there and telling them I picked it up. So I just bought it. I'm a big fucking idiot. But I did that. And this guy had a very, very large collection of board games. So this guy has taken everything I've ever seen from, I don't want to say nerds, but sure, why not? Right? For lack of a better term. And amped it up to the degree. This guy has a big gaming, collection in his basement. I have seen bigger collections, but this guy has collections of like special edition games that are all painted with box organizers. So all that shit I was doing that to like the umpteenth degree. Oh yeah, I gotta write down that game he showed me. Yeah, he showed me a lot of games. To the point where I actually had to like excuse myself because I was going to be sorry guys, I'm writing down. I can't multitask. I was going to go see a movie. So I was like, all right, I got to go. I had like lots of time, but I was just there for so long. The guy was showing me so much stuff that I had to excuse myself. But it was interesting. I got to see again. I like when people who are into board games show me other board games because like I said, I'm new to it, and I'm really enjoying it. I really, truly am enjoying it. I know it's super nerdy, but you know what? Anybody who takes the time and sits down and decides they want to play 1, 2, or whatever, also start to get super into it. So it's very, very cool that I'm meeting so many people who are into it, and it's a fun little social hobby. You know, I like playing video games, but it's kind of even if you're playing online, it's kind of like a solo activity, and I enjoy sitting around, you know, having a drink or two and shooting the shit with people, having some fun. So I don't know why I have to keep justifying it. You know what? You don't like that I play board games, and if it's nerdy as shit, well, just don't listen anymore. We'll part ways here. But when my other podcast launches, and Lord knows when that'll be, I'll try to put more of the board game stuff there, so that I'm not bothering you guys with it. But for now, that's my life, you know, playing nerdy stuff and having a good time doing it. I went to go see on Saturday afternoon, rushing out of that place and trying to get home in order to change. I went to see A Quiet Place with Crystal. We were going to, you know, we used to go see horror movies all the time, whatever. And like I said, we're hanging out. We're doing the friend thing, having a good time. We got to chatting about A Quiet Place and didn't realize it was coming out so you know, recently. So we asked if Brody wanted to come with us, and originally he was going to, then he changed his mind. So just Crystal and I who went to go see it, and I think it's funny because now that it's been a few days since I saw it, I keep kind of like, I'm going back and forth on what I really thought of it. I enjoyed it. It's a good movie. Like, I gotta say, at the end of the day, it's a good movie. For anyone who doesn't know, it's basically the world, one of those apocalyptic movies. Something happened to the world, and now, you know, the human race is in danger. People are, I guess, being attacked by these creatures that can hear you. So the whole idea for the movie is there's this family, and it does take place around one family that is trying to survive. And basically, if you make any noise, these creatures hear you. They attack sound. They can't see. I don't think they can smell either. They just everything's based on sound. So the movie very quickly introduces the threat to you and how serious that threat is. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, everything happens, the whole story takes place over the course of a day. So not exactly a spoiler, but I think the first day it tells you, you know, day number whatever, and then they establish the threat, and then it's like day number whatever later on, and I think everything transpires within the course of that one day. But it's really interesting, really, really well done. The family talks to each other with sign language. You know, there's a lot of suspenseful moments, lots of very, very suspenseful moments, high strung, and of course, because the silence, the whole movie, you know, they do a really good job of addressing like how many things in our day-to-day lives would cause noise and stuff. But yeah, a lot of thrilling. You know, and if you're a sentimental person, I know a lot of my listeners are family people. I don't know what that sounds like. I'm laughing because I'm like, well, who isn't a family person? But I'm saying people, you know, part of a family, you know, the whole thing is like protecting your family, you know, but of course there's young children in the movie. So it's like, you know how fucking kids are. It's a lot harder to keep a kid quiet, you know, during certain things. But it's a tense movie, very, very tense movie. I don't know if I loved it as much as I thought I did originally. But I mean, anytime you do a horror movie, I mean, you can't write out every little flaw and thing like that would be in it. Like, you know, I basically, you know, I mean, I'm enjoying everything that I saw. And then there was parts where I'm like, well, what if someone snored in the middle of the night or coughed or something like that? You know, because they make it that like every little creak would be heard from all over the place, and you'd be attacked. So I don't know. I guess it's almost like I'm trying to be the yin and the yang of it. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I just loved it, it was so good. It was a good flick, and like I said, very, very tense. So I enjoyed myself. Crystal liked the movie as well. But yeah, I think overall, if you like suspense horrors, whatever, it's definitely one of the better ones. A lot of really, really tense scenes. So I would definitely say, you know, if you like it, go see A Quiet Place. It's a good movie. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. Like I said, if you're going to do what I do, which is always overthink things and maybe pick it apart, I don't think that's necessary. You'll have some questions and you go, well, there may be some moments where you go, well, yeah, well, what about, what? It's a horror movie. And in terms of horror movies, it's one of the more, well done ones. So, let it just scare you and make your chest tight the whole time you're there. It was a great time. On Saturday night, I had a show in Quillon, Quebec, and, I think I came home from the movie. I napped for a little bit, and then I got ready for my show in Quillon. Quillon, I got to work with Julian Dion and Matt Carter, two good friends of mine. We got out there. I drove, I think it's about an hour away from home, and the whole way there, I listened to my audiobook of It, which is great. I'm really, really enjoying just listening to the audiobooks. I'm still finding a proper balance as to when I can listen, because I'll decide, hey, I can listen while I'm doing my taxes. And then, as I'm, organizing my taxes, I start to get way into what's on the receipts and stuff like that. And I'm not paying attention to as much. And of course, because it is written by Stephen King, it's very, very descriptive and easy to lose my place. And then 5 to 10 minutes later, I realize, I haven't been paying attention to what's going on and I have to go back. But of course, in the drive, it was amazing. Driving was absolutely amazing because I was able to just focus on the road, listen to the book, and get right into it. The show in Quillon was really interesting. It was just a bar, a very, very small town, bar on the side of the road, and we had a great show, but the crowd was really rowdy, lots of drinking. It was definitely small townish, and by that, I don't even want to shit on small towns, but it's funny. I hadn't seen Julian in a while, and Julian and I had an opportunity to chat and catch up or whatever. But while we were talking, and this was like in the middle of the show, both his main portion of, like, he was hosting, I was featuring. His main portion of the show was over, and I was done on stage as well. Now Matt Carter, the headliner, was on stage, and as we're sitting there chatting with each other, this guy comes up to us like, "All right, you guys are the comedians. All right, I got this for you." And as he was going to tell a joke, it was so funny because Julian said it first, but I was thinking it. The guy tells us this joke. It was a racist joke, which I find a lot of times small towns are. And then he's like, laughs, and I think he pats Julian on the back and then walked away. Didn't even wait for a response, just told it and then walked away. And I look at Julian and he just goes, "How did I know it was going to be racist?" I go, "Right? I knew to." There's so many times, guys, where like, and this is Quillon, Quebec. It's 45, 50 minutes, away from Ottawa, like downtown Ottawa. All right. So when we think that we're super progressive here, it's like, yeah, you don't have to go very far outside of a major city to find racism. And, I find a lot of these small town shows that I do, not all of them, because again, I was in Avonmore, small town. Nobody said anything hateful. In fact, I made a joke at that show because it was all white people. And I said, I couldn't wait to come to Avonmore, Ontario, where I knew it'd be multicultural and everything. They all started laughing. They asked me if I wanted to perform with the lights on. I was like, no, it's bright white enough in here as it is. Could stand to be a little darker. But they laughed and, nobody said anything offensive or whatever. But sometimes you just go and these people come up to you and they tell you a joke. I've had shows where, sorry for the hiccups. I've had the shows where, where there'd be a minority comedian on the show, like, and someone would come up and go, "Hey man, I really liked you, but let me tell you that fucking," and then they start to go off and I'm like, whoa, like, what is it that makes people think that we would want to hear this? That's the part I don't get. Like, I'm not mad at the person because I get, like, everybody's, who knows, nature versus nurture, whatever it is. But like, I don't know why people would think that we want to hear racist jokes. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I joke around freely with friends and other comedians and stuff like that. Cause I think we all sort of know that we all know each other and we're all sort of in the same, fraternity, sorority, all being comics and stuff. And then when you're with your friends, like, your friends know you can joke around, a little dirty or a little crass or a little taboo with your friends because they also know you, they know what's in your heart. But I find that when I do these small town shows that people will just come up and they are comfortable saying, ignorant shit. Like, I want to believe that the guy who told us the joke doesn't really believe it. He's laughing at maybe the stereotype, and it doesn't even seem to be that accurate a stereotype. But I was going to tell you guys, and I'm sorry that I didn't. You can always ask me another time, but I just, I don't want to tell the joke that he told. The reason being is I don't want to go, man, that's funny, and then perpetuate it, right? And then I know consciously that that joke's out there floating around more because I'm the one who told it, right? I shared it in a public forum. So, sorry if it seems irritating, but yeah, I thought it was really stupid. I thought it was very, it's very Trump style joke, ignorant, uninformed, but anyways. I don't get it. It's this happened many times. And I think that's probably the same reason Julian was like, oh, how did I know it was going to be racist? It's because it just, a lot of times when they come up to you in small towns, they're like, hey, let me tell you this. I don't know, but that'll change in time, I hope. More diversity, more understanding, the more we learn. I also had a conversation with Chris. Oh, do I save this for another time? Yeah, maybe I'll save it for another time. I had a conversation with Chris about eating meat, and we went into it a little bit, which was good. Like we they didn't argue or whatever, but I just remember thinking like it might even end up being a bit only because like I've got so much to say on it, and I'm a hypocrite myself. That's the thing. It's not about being preachy. It's about just taking the time to take a look at something. Like it's amazing that we're in a time where you have to be so careful of what you say because you might hurt someone's feelings. And I don't mean like walking up to someone and calling them a name. I'm saying a word that's not even a harsh word, but somebody else may not. Like we're so delicate, yet we still have, we still slaughter and kill animals against their will, obviously, when it's not necessary. And again, you can get upset with me and disagree with me. It's fine. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I'm starting to learn more and more as we learn more and more. I think that's really what it is with humanity. The more we learn, the more we sort of understand. It's harder and harder to make arguments for the shit that we do. And it's funny because I think some of the fights that are being fought aren't really needed to be fought. And some of the ones that should be fought perhaps aren't. We know that human beings can sustain ourselves off of plants, right? We know this. We don't have to, and there's no rules against it. But it's something that we can do. So the ideas of eating and killing animals, you know what I mean, is it's not necessary, but it's more fun, right? It tastes better. I like doing it, right? I used to. I was talking with Chris too. I guess I am getting into it, even though I didn't think I was going to. I was saying with Chris too, like a lot of people, would say, well, I mean, I like eating meat, I think I like it better to eat meat than to whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure slave owners liked having slaves better than not having slaves. But, eventually you go, well, these people, let's say, I don't want to say these animals, because I'm not trying to call slaves animals. But what I'm saying is at the end of the day, if we're all of us, human beings, animals, everything are all animals or organisms or life forms, earthlings, we all learned that, that's not okay. And we're still, as a race, apologizing for it. And, I think, for fuck's sakes, I'm like, am I going to get on a soapbox? I'm saying I never owned slaves. I think that there's a great saying, that says, if you can't forgive and forget, pick one. So I know that I myself, there's people who never owned slaves, and there's people who never were slaves, and everyone's acting like they that everybody was and is or whatever. So all I'm saying is I think that we're in a good place, a better place, where we know in our hearts that it wasn't okay. Even the people who would, the South, some people in the South who are like, oh, let's bring it back, the South will rise, all that shit. It's like they got to know in their hearts that it's not okay to own another human being. Just because they want it really bad or whatever it is, or back in the day wanted it really bad, they got to know it's not okay. And I think that someday we're going to, as a population, move towards that with killing and eating animals. Just because, like, hey, we own dogs and stuff like that. Like, you can go to jail if you beat a dog, and that's good. You shouldn't beat another life form. We should be empathetic. And the argument I always come back to is a lot of people are saying, that they would save a human or before they would save an animal or something like that. And I've gotten into it with people before who said that they believe that human beings are more important than animals because look what we've done. Like technologically, we've created more and this and that. So that's how they feels that human beings deserve to eat animals and this and that because we are more evolved than they are. And to which I always counter and say, cool. So if aliens came down and decided to imprison you and eat you, then you wouldn't even fight back because they are more technologically advanced than us and therefore deserve to eat you if they want to, you know? And obviously, I very rarely does someone even encounter back like, no, I'd fight back. It's like, I want to live or whatever. It's like what the animals don't, you know? At the end of the day, basically people make bullshit arguments that serve the purpose that they want. But if you take someone and you just force them to look at something with empathy or, you know, basically role reversal, put yourself in something else's shoes and go, are you just going to sit there and take it? Because they go, well, no, that those things don't want to, like, I don't want to suffer. It's like nothing wants to die needlessly. But again, I started this whole thing off by saying I'm a fucking hypocrite because I still eat meat. I would like to go vegan and vegetarian, and I'm working towards that. I truly am. But it's a very slow process. And while I'm doing it, I'm fully aware that it isn't something I need to do and ultimately something that I would prefer not to do. And I think that while we're looking at rights and things like that, I think that there's more and more, like, I'm not Pete, I'm not throwing blood on anybody, but I'm just saying, if you can live without killing something, wouldn't we all rather do that at the end of the day? You know, just in terms of just ethically, right? You know, we all know that, you know, 90% of us wouldn't be able to go to a slaughterhouse and kill something ourselves. You know, I think Chris and I got talking to it because he was talking about hunting and stuff like that. And I was like, you know, we don't need to hunt. It's fun, but it's, you know, like not for myself, you know, they'd consider it a sport or whatever, but I'm just saying, ultimately you don't need to do that. So, you know, you got to admit you're doing it for yourself, for fun. It's not so much about, you know, oh, it's necessary and we have to eat we need them to eat. Like, no, there's lots you can eat that it's, I don't know what there is. All right, listen, I'm done with this particular conversation. I'm just saying, I think that with all the other stuff going on, I think that that's something that's going to end up, I think it should be a bigger conversation. Just, you know, I'm not saying people who eat meat are bad. I am a carnivore. I eat meat. Meat is absolutely delicious, but, you know, so would having a bunch of sex slaves be amazing, right? To just fuck whatever you want, whenever you want. But slavery is wrong, you know, just because it feels good, you know, doesn't mean that it's a good thing. Weird example to jump to, but I'm just saying, ultimately having, you know, human trafficking is fucking wrong, but it's kind of the same thing as just treating animals like their property and whatnot. You know, I'll sell it to you, then you do to it whatever you want. You know, that's fucked up. It's not okay, right? And just because it's human versus an animal, why? Because the human being can beg for its life or whatever, you know? Anyways, whatever. That was a conversation we had. So, you know, and hopefully the small town people, you know, with their racist jokes. And again, it's not all of them. There's lots of closeted racists and stuff like that in the city. I think the only difference is that they know better than to out themselves in the city versus the small towns, you know? Anyways, maybe they think that they're trying to grow their popularity and their population. There's only 6 racists in this small town. I got to tell more people, get more of them involved. And even though nobody speaks like that in Canada, it's that Southern accent, you know, the one that's associated with racism. Gee, I wonder why. All right, fuck. Sunday I did errands with my mom. I had a great day. My mom's birthday was on Monday, and I know that she had plans and I was busy on Monday. So was I busy on Monday? I had stuff I needed to do. I don't know if I was that busy. But I ran errands with her. We went over to the Quebec Costco and bought some beer and some wine and some other fun stuff. I had a good day with her. We went over to the SAQ, which is like their version of the liquor stores in Quebec, and just took a peek around for what was there. We ended up going to the LCBO over on the King Edward side. In Ottawa. Again, for international listeners, none of that means a difference, but it's the biggest liquor store in Ottawa with the most selection. So we went in there and we poked around and looked at a bunch of different stuff. And I liked looking at the scotches section because I'm still enjoying me scotches, even though I don't have as many as I'd like to. I'm trying to do better with the drinking as well. But it was a good time. Like we spent hours just grocery shopping and poking around and whatnot. And then we went to go have a meal at the Golden Palace in Ottawa, and I will give them a free plug. They have the best egg rolls on the planet Earth thus far, because there's lots of places that'll boast world famous whatever. These egg rolls, okay, are sold in the Canadian Tire Center where the Ottawa Senators play. They are sold in the Bell Center where the Montreal Canadiens play. They're shipped all over, Ontario and Quebec. They're available in lots of different fancy restaurants. These egg rolls are so good. In fact, I've had comedians who have traveled the entire world and tasted them everywhere and said that the egg rolls at the Golden Palace are the best on the planet that they've had anywhere, hands down. So a free plug for them. They're only $2 each. Angelo Sarukis, who's a comic who travels all over the planet, he still best egg rolls on the planet, bar none, no question. He goes there every time he comes to Ottawa. It's one of his favorite places to eat. So, a great spot. I went there with Mom, and we had some egg rolls and some chow mein and some stuff like that. So nice little birthday meal with her after the shopping, and it was delicious. And that night I came home and I finished my 2016 tax reporting. So that's when I got all finished. It was a great Sunday night. Yesterday, just some simple shit. I ran around, did some admin stuff on the car. I had to get the plate sticker and things like that. And then I did food prep. So twice this week I think it was this week at least, I made homemade hummus, and I made it with no salt and a little bit less of the olive oil than was said in the recipe. But I'm trying to get my my protein up. Like I said, I am working towards closer to vegetarianism. I want to get my proteins up in garbanzo beans, chickpeas as they were. And I've had all these cans of organic chickpeas and not really knowing what to do with them in terms of how to make them palatable. I bought these East Indian sauces that you put in, they were served to me at Costco, right? So they take the sauce, they pour it on chickpeas, mix them all, heat them all together, and then pour it over a bed of like basmati rice. Delicious. So I bought these sauces, bought the chickpeas to do at home. But it is very, very spicy and hard on the stomach. So I was kind of like, I got to find some other things to do. So ultimately I decided I was going to make some hummus as well because I had all this veggies at home, and I'm like, can't dip them in salad dressing because then you're just getting all the same shitty calories. So I'll make some hummus. So earlier this week I made hummus. I did not add any salt, and I added just a little bit of garlic. And it was okay. I was describing it as like lemon flavored drywall mud, but at the end of the day, I wanted the protein from it. I wanted I wanted the good stuff in it. So I made that, and I went through it with some cucumbers. So basically just cucumbers and hummus. Amazing. And then I think yesterday or the day before I made, it was yesterday. I made a spinach hummus. So I took just handfuls of spinach and I stuck them in with the beans and the tahini, olive oil, garlic, lemon juice. And I made a spinach hummus. It's green as hell. I have a Vitamix, by the way. So if anyone doesn't know, just a free plug for them too, is Vitamix is it's a very expensive blender, but it basically will make just about anything. It can make soup purely from the friction. So you put all your ingredients for soup in to the Vitamix, and then just turn it on and leave it for like 5-6 minutes, and it just keeps blending. And the speed of the blades is actually enough to not only chop and pulverize and blend everything, but it actually heats the soup. So you can make soup right in the Vitamix. Use it to grind coffee, make peanut butters and things like that. And again, you might have like a magic bullet or something at home. You put a piece of ice in one of those, and it's going to jam up because it doesn't have the strength. This thing has like something like 15 horsepower or whatever. So I have made incredible things with that. I made smoothies this morning. You know what I mean? And I just throw everything in there, frozen vegetables, but frozen fruits as well. And, I put a bunch of spinach and hemp hearts and yogurt and stuff in my smoothies as well. And you just put it in there and it just fucking liquefies them. So it blends everything together. It is, in fact, the Vitamix, the commercial version is what they use at Booster Juice. So to give you an example of just throw all the frozen shit in there, boom, there's a smoothie. That's what it is. So, made hummus. I bought some breads and some pitas when I was out shopping at Costco, as well as getting more veggie burgers. I've been eating these Dr. Prager's California style veggie burgers, which are really, really good. And it's all like organic ingredients and whatnot. Like reading the ingredients, I was surprised how little garbage they have in them. So very excited. I've been eating those and enjoying them. So I'm keeping my calories down. I'm still going to the gym. Like I went to the gym yesterday as well. So, did some food prep, went to the gym. I read one of my sponsors' books, which I'll be talking to you guys about shortly. And all in all, it was a good like just food prep day, everything like that. And then right before bed, got ready for podcast and whatnot. So have been eating better. I haven't eaten pizza at all this week. Not to say that that's a huge breakthrough, but like haven't had any shy of the egg rolls at the Golden Palace, which was a special occasion for the old woman's birthday. I haven't eaten any shitty food. It's been all, yogurts in the morning and oatmeals, smoothies and hummus and veggie burgers. The worst thing I've been eating, that I can consciously say is I've been having coffee with cream and, agave syrup, which I've been making at home. But, I've had that. And then I think maybe I got these bagel buns. So obviously they're dense bread, but I've been smearing the hummus on them. So I think that's like the worst stuff that I've been eating. Like I've been keeping the meals to a minimum. But yeah, there's really not been a whole lot of bad stuff. So I'm having a good week, guys, just to share some good shit with you. And it doesn't taste like shit. That's the best part, is that this stuff doesn't really taste all that bad. So I'm particularly happy with what I'm doing. I'm hitting the gym. I'm feeling better. I'm going to keep the pounds coming off and have some good stuff. I'm dropped down below 290. So, I started losing the weight way back in December, early January, where I was, I dropped from like 316 pounds down to about, somewhere in the 290s. And I was real happy with that. And then for the last while, I've gone up and down, from 290 to 296, 292, back up to 298, everything between 290 and 300, right? Just trying not to hit that 300 again. And, now I've dropped back down to 289. So I've cracked the 90s, and now I'm going to be, starting to make a big stretch towards the, the lower numbers even still. So doing good, feeling good, working hard. Nothing but good times, guys. It's so funny too, because I wrote this talking point down earlier this week, where the day I started working on my taxes, I think was Thursday, I got a courtesy call from CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, just reminding me to file my 2017 taxes. I just thought that was really funny. I was still working on the 16s, and I'm getting a courtesy call. I'm like, yep, I know I only have this month to get it done. So it's fucking crazy. I do want to say that I got 2 submissions now for the One Maniverse contest, right? Which is naming you guys, the listeners. So far, Chris and Tiffany are the only 2 people who've submitted potential names. And both of them have submitted a few, but I think I'm going to take the top 1 from each. So far, Chris has suggested onesies. You guys are the onesies, right? Listen to the One Man Podcast. And Tiff has suggested the singletons. Not the singletons, but just singletons. So those are the 2, man. Remember, anybody, whoever gets the number 1, right? Whoever picks the One Man Podcast audience listeners title wins a $50 gift card to a place of their choice. So, feel free to send them in. contact@onemanpodcast.com. What do you think the listeners of the One Man Podcast should be called? I would love to hear that. I'm still working on, like I said, staying healthy. It's a lot of it's work, but I'm enjoying it. It's one of those things where you see the pounds coming off, you see the numbers on the scale going down. It feels good to keep doing that. You know what I mean? I'm also excited to see how it's going to feel with, my hernia and my pain in my side as I lose the weight. And I hope to have nothing but good, good updates for you guys going forward. I watched a movie last week on Netflix. It was so fucking stupid. And I knew it was going to be stupid. It took me 3 nights to get through it because I kept passing out during it. Like I don't know about you guys, but I put stuff on at night to go to sleep too. Do you guys do that? I know Kamar, you do, listening, that Kamar goes, as soon as he comes home, throws the TV on. It's funny too, because Kamar will actually put something on in his room, super loud, and then he will go downstairs and turn the TV on downstairs and then watch that and then go outside and like have a cigarette or something like that. So it's funny. He'll watch a bunch of different things at the same time, but Kamar usually falls asleep with something on his TV. He watches a lot of YouTube and stuff like that. Netflix, like a lot of documentaries. I'm envious. I wish I could just watch stuff all the time. Just poking at him. But, yeah, it's I can't sleep without something, some sort of distraction, because I do get too anxious. I overthink, and then I end up just worrying myself. Can't fall asleep because I've basically worked myself up into an anxious panic. So I got to put stuff on to fall asleep. But this week I put on Transformers: The Last Night. It's one I hadn't seen. And I thought, this will be just like a fun little mind-numbing, put-you-to-sleep movie. And in fact, it was. But just even in watching it, like, it's like the 5th fucking Transformers movie. Like, can they just let this stupid thing die? Like, there's nothing fascinating about it at all anymore. Like, Mark Wahlberg has now done 2 of them. Shia LaBeouf did like 3 of them. Right? Megan Fox, as dumb as she is, she was the smartest one to get out of it early. Michael Bay still directing it, like 5. I don't know if he directed the last ones, but he directed the first one, I know, and I think he directed the second. And then I guess he just decided he was coming back to do some more. I could be wrong. He could have been the guy the whole time, but oh my God, is it ever cheesy and hokey? The first one was too, but I mean, at least there was something to it. But now, like, the storylines that they've got in it, like, I think this one was like the King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table used Transformer dinosaurs and dragons to, save humanity forever ago. And it was just really, it was really dumb. They tried to turn Optimus Prime into a bad guy, which was like a storyline they didn't even pay attention. Like, they used it in the trailer to make it look like, oh shit, Optimus is gonna be the bad guy. And then it was something that like barely had any consequence in the movie whatsoever. So I don't know. It was stupid. But what I expected. Transformers Part 5? Oh, it wasn't good? What a fucking shocker. They keep changing women too in the movies too, because I think that women actresses are like, yeah, I'm good. That was a lot of work to run around and be half naked the whole movie for no good reason, and then acting like I have weird sexual tension with Mark Wahlberg. But like I said too, I'm still ear reading it. I'm listening to it on audiobook. It is very, very long. It's 44 hours long. I have 21 hours left, so I've spent a lot of time listening to that. And I'm excited. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it. It sounds funny because the name's it, and I say it in a sentence. I like that book. It's fun. I watched the movie with Jay, as I mentioned, and I'm really, really enjoying the book, because I'm seeing things like both the 1994, I think, version of it, or 92 version of it, and the 2017 version of it. You could see that both of them were very different in parts of the stories that they told, but both of them used different aspects. At least the second part of it, the new one, hasn't been told yet. But a lot of the stuff that they had, happen to the kids and things like that in the old version, the Tim Curry version, they didn't have, but it was very important to the book. And it's funny too, because like just basically elements of both, well, there's elements of course of both in the book, but it was interesting to see like both versions use different things in the story of it, in their movies. So it was kind of cool to see more of the personal interactions that the kids had, in the book, in the newer one. But at the same time, there was things that they changed, like, well, whatever, fuck it. I won't ruin it. Spoiler alert on the book that's 30 years old and whatever. I would definitely say if you were a fan of the movies, reading or ear reading the books is definitely a very cool option, because I'm really enjoying hearing the different stories, the different things going on. It's funny too, because in the original miniseries that does have the adults in it as well, they introduce the people differently. Like just so, I almost can't talk about it because the new movies will have it in it. So if anyone who's not seen the original, hasn't read the book, are still in for some surprises. But the big spoiler in the book is one of the first things that gets addressed. So that this has happened as you're reading the book. So it's out of the way nice and early. But in the miniseries, when it was a 2-parter, the first part is ended with this particular cliffhanger, and then of course in the newer adaptation, it hasn't been addressed yet at all. So it's still coming, and who knows, they may change it. They may change it entirely. But great book. It's like 1,000 pages long, so I'm just enjoying it. I'm also enjoying the references of the times, right? Because this book, they're kids in the 50s and they come back as adults in the 80s, which is hilarious because the new movie adaptation, they were children in the 80s and they'll be coming back in present day. So it's just cool. It's just a really cool read. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Blah, bitty, blah, blue, blue. That's been my week so far, guys. And now it is time to hit these sponsors. Who are my sponsors? Oh, yes. Speaking of it and all of its treacherous sewer parts, flowing down, they all float down here. And when you're down here with us, you'll float too. Uncle John's Bathroom Readers. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the shitter. My partner's at portablepress.com, guys, and because I'm going back to books from the 80s, ooh, that's a good way to segue. I'm trying to find a way to explain why it is that I've gone right back to the very first Uncle John's Bathroom Reader, back in the 80s, like the time that it came out. So I've gone back to the original Uncle John's Bathroom Reader to find an article that's called Famous for 15 Minutes. So it's going to have some older stories, and I'm sure there's been lots more things since then, considering the age that we live in and everyone trying to be famous. But this is an article called Famous for 15 Minutes. Andy Warhol was prophetic when he said, "In the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. Here are a few examples of what we have to look forward to. The star, Annabella Battistella, a.k.a. Fanny Fox, the Argentine firecracker, voluptuous Latin exotic dancer. The headline, Stripper Sinks Political Career. What happened? Late one night in October 1972, a suspicious Washington, D.C. cop pulled over an erratically moving vehicle. The inebriated driver turned out to be Congressman Wilbur Mers of Arkansas, a 36-year veteran of the House and chairman of its powerful Ways and Means Committee. In the car with him were 6 next-door neighbors. What? Oh, in the car with him were his next door neighbor, 38-year-old Annabella Battistella, a stripper known on stage as Fanny Fox, and some friends, all headed home after a night of carousing. At some point during the confrontation, no one is exactly sure why, Annabella suddenly ran screaming from the car and jumped or slipped into the tidal basin, a shallow section of the Potomac River. Potomac? The event became front page news, and it was revealed that the Stade Mills, that's the congressman dude, happily married for 40 years, had been having an affair with Fanny. Shockwaves rippled through Washington, but Fanny cashed in immediately, booking a tour of East Coast strip joints as the Washington Tidal Basin Girl. You've read about her, now see her in person. She claimed to be making $3,000 a week and that a big toy company was planning a Fanny doll. She even got the Harvard Republican Club's Newcomer of the Year award. The aftermath? Mills' career was jeopardized, but it seemed as though he'd pull through, until 2 months later when he suddenly appeared on stage in a seedy Boston strip joint and gave Fanny a kiss. That was it. "I'm a sick man," he told colleagues when they challenged his authority. Mills was hospitalized and Fanny continued to take it off, but faded into obscurity. The next one, the star, Scott Halpern, a San Francisco teenager. The headline, Rock Star for a Night, Kid from Audience Steps Forward. What happened? In 1973, The Who were in San Francisco playing the first show of what was to be a major U.S. tour. As the opening bars of Won't Get Fooled Again burst from the massive sound system at the Cow Palace, the group's unpredictable drummer Keith Moon suddenly slumped over, totally out of it, unable to hit another cymbal. Moon was escorted off stage and returned shortly afterwards, seemingly revived. But a few minutes later, he collapsed again, this time completely unable to continue. In a bizarre fantasy come true, The Who's lead, Pete Townsend, went to the edge of the stage and asked for volunteers. A 19-year-old named Scott Halpern bounded forward, and soon he found himself playing Magic Bus and My Generation. "It happened really quick," said Halpern later. "I didn't have time to think about it and get nervous. I really admired their stamina. I only played 3 numbers and I was dead." The aftermath. Keith Moon recovered, at least for a few more years. Halpern didn't become a star, but he was the subject of a small piece in Rolling Stone. "That drummer," said lead singer Roger Daltrey, "was really good." The next one, the star, Peg Entwistle, aspiring actress. Headline, Starlet plunges to death in desperate dive. What happened? Young Peg Entwistle had been a success on the Broadway stage, and she arrived in Hollywood expecting to build a career in motion pictures. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, so in September of 1932, she decided to end it all. She did it in the grand Cecil B. DeMille style. She climbed to the top of the 50-foot-high H in the Hollywood sign above the city and leaped to her death. It made national news, although it was a little too late to do her career any good. Aftermath. Hollywood, the city of broken dreams, had a new fad. Disappointed would-be movie stars continue to take their own lives by jumping off the sign. The next story. Oh, geez, here we got on the old Sunday news. Are you paying attention, folks? The star, Sachin Littlefeather. I probably got her name right. Sachin Littlefeather, a Native American political activist and an Oscar stand-in for Marlon Brando. The headline, Brando refuses Oscar, sends surrogate in protest over Indian rights. What happened? In 1972, Marlon Brando was nominated for a Best Actor Oscar for his role in The Godfather. Brando was becoming increasingly politicized, and at the time, the plight of the American Indians was his primary interest. So he arranged to have a young activist named Sachin Littlefeather accept the award, if he won, in his place, handing her a 3-page speech to read. When the time came, dressed in full Indian regalia, Miss Littlefeather shocked the audience and TV network, and Roger Moore, the man trying to present it, by refusing the award for Brando and reading a short speech. The Academy refused to allow her the long one, which decried the treatment of the Indian in Hollywood films. Aftermath. Littlefeather had regularly played bit parts in films herself, but after the incident found herself blacklisted for several years. She was also harassed by both the FBI and unknown individuals. She is still an activist, but feels bitter about the experience. And final story, The Star. Eddie Gadel, a 3'7" midget. Also, this book was wrote in the 80s, so don't get fucking butthurt about the word midget, okay? I didn't fucking write it. They didn't mean anything by it. The headline, Small Man in Big Leagues, a Veek stunt. What happened? It was a Sunday doubleheader with the Detroit Tigers on August 19th, 1951, and the St. Louis Browns were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the American League. Between games, Brown owner Bill Veek wheeled a huge cake out onto the field, and out popped Eddie Gadel, wearing a Browns uniform with the number 1/8 on it. During the first inning of the next game, Gadel popped out of the dugout and informed the umpire he was pinch hitting. Challenged, Veek produced a valid contract. Pitching is difficult as it is, but a 3'7" person has a strike zone of about 18 inches. Gadel walked on 4 straight pitches. He then left for a pinch runner. The aftermath. Gadel made a quick $100 for his appearance, and American League president Will Harridge issued a solemn declaration barring midgets from baseball and warning Veek not to try any similar stunts. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is famous for 15 minutes. The 3 running feet on the articles are as follows. The biggest recorded bubble ever blown with bubble gum was 22 inches in diameter. Walter Kavanaugh, Mr. Plastic Fantastic, has 1,196 different valid credit cards. And lifespan, the oldest known goldfish lived to 41 years of age. Its name was Fred. And that, my friends, is another article down the drain from my partners at portablepress.com. Uncle John's Bathroom Readers. As always, guys, if you like little fun stuff like that, that's nice to read before bed or read when you're on that carappa, you can take a look at their assorted varieties of books. They got tons of them, as do I. And there's lots of great things that they have. They got best of books, so you can get right to all of the favorites. They've got the nature ones. They've got geographical ones, TV, sports, space, history, science, all sorts of different things. So check them out. Portablepress.com. My partners there. And of course, my partners, as always, at Absolute Comedy. Absolute Comedy is the best live stand-up comedy from across North America, with locations in Kingston, Toronto, and Ottawa, Ontario. These comedians have been featured on Just for Laughs, Netflix, Comedy Central, CBC's The Debaters, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Conan, The Comedy Network, and much, much more. Go to absolutecomedy.ca to see this week's lineup. Planning a night out is easy with dinner and show packages, available at all locations. Live comedy is a great choice if you're organizing a celebration, fundraiser, company outing, or corporate event. Want the show brought to you? They'll send comedians to your venue with performances tailored to your event, creating a night of laughs your guests will love and won't soon forget. So for showtimes, ticket prices, gift certificates, special shows, and more, head to absolutecomedy.ca. Again, that's absolutecomedy.ca for the best live stand-up comedy from across North America. And I'm back. I will also be at Absolute Comedy myself performing. I think I'm hosting, can't remember exactly what, but I'm hosting at Absolute Comedy in Kingston at the end of the month. I'll try to get those dates for you. Do I have a phone around here within reach? Let me do that. You know what? While I'm getting those dates available, guys, why don't you check out a message from my partners at the delicious Somersby. The sun gives life to the orchard. The orchard gives life to the apple. The apple gives life to Somersby. Somersby is a delicious sweet taste of sunshine, imported across the ocean, all the way from Denmark. The people in Denmark are smarter, and so are you, if you drink Somersby. With flavors like apple, blackberry, pear, elderflower lime, red rhubarb, and a taste as regal as this fake accent, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And now you can try them all in the Somersby Mixer Pack, available wherever fine beverages are sold. So go on and try for yourself the crisp, refreshing taste of Somersby. Your taste buds deserve it. Please drink resplendently. Oh, and we're back. 25th to the 28th of April, 2018, I will be in Kingston, Ontario, sipping a Somersby and telling jokes in Kingston, Ontario at Absolute Comedy. So I'm very excited about that, guys, just to get that date available for you. And who did I forget? Oh, do I forget them every week? You bet I don't. My partners at DK, guys, Dorling Kindersley. I read the entire thing. I'm just always like almost done a book by the time I give you guys a heads up on it. But I like their stuff, and this one was awesome. This week I read Marvel Studios 101, All Your Questions Answered by DK. It is a hardcover book, and what this book is it's giving you all the information that you need to know on all of the Marvel movies leading up to Avengers Infinity War. So all your favorites from Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Falcon, all that fun stuff leading up to Infinity War. So if you're somebody who's watched a few of the movies and, maybe you're excited for Infinity War like I am, but you might just not be 100% sure what goes in what order and how does something work. You might have some questions. Well, this book lines everything up for you. In fact, it even gives you, despite the fact that the movies didn't exactly come out in chronological order in terms of the stories being told in them, they even have a section in this that tells you, like, if you're looking to watch them, what order should you watch them in? And then it lists them for you. But it answers all of your questions about the superheroes. It talks about all of the different superpowers that are available, Like it's just, you just pick them. But they're talking about how, like, everyone came to be, the backstories, the intertwining stories of the Infinity Stones and where they came from and which movies. It's a great book, and it's a quick read. You know what I mean? Not to say that, you get it over with because it's not great. It's a great book. It's just that if you're trying to catch yourself up and you're going, well, that movie Infinity War comes out on the 27th. Yes, it does. You will have time to pick this book up and read it and get yourself all caught up so that you will be up to date with all of the nerdy information going into Infinity War later this month when it comes out. I'm super excited for it. I know I will be there opening night because I am a super, super nerd and I've been watching these movies for 10 years now. 10 years Marvel has been working towards this. They started in 2008 with Iron Man, and they're not closing her down, but they are definitely wrapping up a big arc of the story with Infinity War on the 27th. So I'm super, super nerd bonery over this. This book also, Marvel Studios 101, also has like a really cool timeline as to what happens in the Avengers movies, just sort of giving you a step-by-step piece of information, effectively a guide, a timeline as what's going on in the Avengers movies. They even have like sections on all the post-credit scenes because the Marvel got really, really popular for all of their post-credit scenes at the end of the movies, one leading into the next and whatnot. So it's really cool. It introduces the Guardians of the Galaxy and knowing what their importance is in the universe, just how things get uncovered. So it's a really great resource. If you like Marvel and you have questions, or if you're starting to see the hype around all of these movies and you kind of feel like you're late to the party, it's a great resource to get caught up on what's going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what the MCU stands for. I had to Google it at one point years ago when I was reading about it. I'm like, what's the MCU? They keep saying the MCU. That stands for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because all of the Marvel movies, all of the Marvel Studios, go together. The stories fit together. They're all in the same universe. So, they will reference each other from time to time in the movies. So just know that that's what they're. Now, just to clarify, Marvel has other characters who are owned by other companies. So the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, is done by Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios is owned by Disney. So they have the rights to a lot of their characters, but just for the record, Fox owns the Fantastic Four, or at least did. Fox also owns the X-Men and any mutant characters, including Deadpool. So you see that there's a lot of Marvel characters out there that are not part of this same cinematic universe. Sony, for a very, very long time, and still does, own Spider-Man. So that's why you see all these Sony movies with Spider-Man. So Sony and Disney made a deal to use Spider-Man for the Avengers movies. So just a heads up in case that's like, well, but what does that make? They got their own thing going. Sony's also starting to open up a bunch of Spider-Man stuff. Venom, the movie Venom, is coming out later this year. And that's owned by Sony. So Sony owns the Spider-Man stuff. There's also one, I think, called Silver and Black coming out, which is about Silver and Sable and Black Cat, who are two Spider-Man characters. So there's all sorts of shit coming out. All sorts of stuff. And, of course, the Netflix stuff, too. While I don't think Disney owns it, or I could be wrong, they may have a deal with Netflix. They refer to things in the universe, but I don't think they're part of the same storyline per se. So, blah, bitty, blue, blah. All that to say, this is a great book. Marvel 101, all your questions answered. Marvel Studios 101, all your questions answered. Take a look for that, guys. As always, I have been an absolute prince. And on Facebook and Twitter, if you're following One Man Podcast or liking us, you can go on that page. I have a link to DK's website, which will allow you to purchase it from Amazon, Indigo, whatever your choice is, at the absolute cheapest price. By all means, go on there and take a look at a copy for yourself. It's a great book and a great way to get caught up for what will be one of the biggest, movies ever made coming out at the end of the month, Avengers Infinity War. Just in terms of the cast alone, there's so much money going into this movie. It is going to be insanity, absolute insanity. So looking forward to that, guys. Thank you to all my sponsors, right? Going forward. Coming up this week, guys, as soon as I'm done here, I am going to get myself dressed up nice and warm, and I've decided to go for a walk to pick up my dog. I haven't spent an evening with Chase in a little while, and it's a good, 30 to 40 minute walk to my mom's house. So I'm going to walk there, and then I'm going to walk back with him. So I'm going to get lots of exercise in. No gym today, but, I jump on the treadmill for 30 minutes. I'm going to be getting a lot more than that this evening. So I'm going to get my dog, come back here, and then get to work on 2017's tax reporting. So excited about that. Excited to get the walk in. Excited to spend some time with my dog. And of course, later on tonight before bed, I will take him for another big walk, which will get lots of exercise in for me and for him, because he's pudgy too. My parents overfeed him. So he needs to get some exercise as well. So it'll be good for both of us. The rest of the week is going to be GTW. You know what I'm saying? Gym tax writing. This weekend coming up, I've got lots of LCBO tastings, so I'm going to be doing that. On Friday, I'm going to be going out to my buddy Aaron's house. Not my brother, but my buddy Aaron, who will be playing some board games at his house. He's very excited. He's the good friend who invited me to come have Easter dinner with him and his family. So very excited for that. It's going to be a good time on Friday night. Sunday, we're doing a smaller version of the writers group, so I'm looking forward to that. And then again next week, back to the gym tax writing. Just keeping the good food in me, keeping the exercise up, keep working towards, comedy goals and things like that. Right. New material. And we'll see what happens. So I'm very excited. And that's the podcast, guys. There's no emails this week. So you know what? I would love for you guys to send me in some for next week. The email address is contact@onemanpodcast.com. I would love to hear from you guys, know how you're doing. How's spring treating you? What's new and exciting? I'd love to hear that. I got lots of listeners that I communicate with on a regular basis via, the social media platforms and phone calls and text messages. I would love to hear from you guys. I might just start cold calling you and recording it for the podcast just to get a little interactivity. you know? So thank you guys always. Again, contact at onemanpodcast.com to send in your emails and chat about whatever you want. Thank you to my sponsors, DK, Summersby, Absolute Comedy, and portablepress.com. I appreciate you guys being there. And of course, if you guys are not already following us on the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, search One Man Podcast. You'll find me on all those. And give us a like or a follow or whatever it is, because I'd love to keep you guys up to date with the things that are going on. It's great. And of course, as my good friend Kamar has mentioned in the past, if you guys are listening on Google Play Music or iTunes or whatever, if you could just scroll down while you're looking at the episode feed, there's a spot where you can just give a quick review. I'd love to get a 5-star review and a little write-up, just something that makes us more prominent on the searches so we can get more people listening, and more of all that good stuff, right? Let's build our little community of onesies or singletons or whatever suggestions the rest of you may have. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to have even more interesting things to tell you guys next time. And even on a small episode that I thought would be no time at all, we've still gotten close to an hour and a half. Thanks for listening, guys. I look forward to talking to you next week.